explain how my othering project works, I first want to explain how my normal works. This isn't just narcissism looking back at you. This is a picture of my headshot from my graduate student recital. I attended a major music conservatory, and as part of it, I had to learn how to sell myself on paper. And this was a project between a professional photographer, a graphic designer, and me. It makes me remarkably middle class. This is my typical suburban home where I grew up. I've never had a different address. This is where the IRS always seems to find me. This is my car. His name is Hugo. He's paid for. And this is my family's beach house on Emerald Isle. This is my requisite dog. Her name is Liddy, and she is a rescue. She has a lot of anxiety. So what all that motley information pretty much boils down to is the fact that I am remarkably middle class. I'm white, I'm educated, I'm Christian. All of those things spell white privilege. McIntosh talks about in her article about white privilege that one of the major components is the taking for granted that you will always be around people that look like you, that come from the same cultural background as you. That if you have a choice, you can be around those people. So for my othering project, I tried to put myself in 3 different situations in which I was not around people like me, that looked like me, that believed the same things that I did. So I made arrangements to meet with a representative of the Islamic Association of Raleigh to attend Ramadan prayer service at a local mosque. I also attended morning worship at St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church. And then finally, I went to my own church, Sacred Heart Cathedral, for the Spanish Mass to see what kind of diversity was in my own parish. So without further ado, I will get to the Islamic Association of Raleigh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
So for the first part of my othering experience, I met Sister Ali Zelmat at the Islamic Association of Raleigh's mosque. She met us in the lobby, and from the beginning, Sister Ali did everything in her power to set us at ease. To begin with, she wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was fully expecting someone of Middle Eastern extraction. Sister Ali is white. And that actually gave us some really interesting things to talk about because she's a convert to Islam and I'm a convert to Catholicism. So there was a lot of food for discussion there from the beginning. She started by giving us a tour of the facility, which is quite large. It encompasses a multi-purpose room that doubles as a community center, the 2 large rooms that are used for prayer in the mosque, as well as a K-12 school. It was a very well-appointed school. It was fairly small, as you would expect a private school to be, and during the whole time we were there, Sister Ali was impressing upon us the importance of education in Islam. Every Muslim is expected to be able to read the Quran in Arabic, and you are supposed to have the whole thing memorized by a certain age. So when she converted to Islam, she had to learn Arabic so that she could read the Quran in its original language. They think of that as being the actual word of God. She was also very excited about a small building that she pointed out to us that is located behind the mosque proper. It is used for the preparation of the dead for burial. Up until its construction last year, they basically had to rely on the goodwill of local morticians to allow representatives of the mosque to prepare the bodies. So this is a really big step forward for that community in terms of being able to take care of their own members from birth until death, keeping tradition intact. After we took that tour, she took us to the 2nd floor, where she showed us the women's prayer room. As you can tell, the women's prayer room is actually rather spacious. We were asked to take our shoes off before we entered because they don't like us to track things in on our shoes. Muslims pray in a prostrate position and nobody wants to be laying where other people's, the grime from people's shoes has rubbed off. You can see the TV that allows the women to see the imam downstairs, but on this day, the women were not praying up in this room. They were actually on the main floor. Soon enough, the Adhan, or the call to prayer, was made, which is actually the music that you were hearing in the earlier clips, and everybody made their way down to the main prayer room. Because there were so few people, there was no reason to separate the men and the women. Men prayed at the front of the room, women prayed at the back of the room. No physical barrier. Sister Allie made sure to emphasize to us that radical separation of the sexes is not actually in the Quran. That is something that has been done by radical branches of Islam. And she used the Taliban Afghanistan as a very negative example. She also explained hijab, which was something that I found myself very concerned about because I realized what a distraction I was because I was not observing hijab. I was covered from my neck to my ankles and to my wrists, which is the rule, but I didn't put on a head covering. Sister Allie told me not to worry about it. And granted, nobody gave me any negativity. There was certainly no anger, but I could tell that I was a bit of a distraction because, I have a lot of hair. And the women ignored me, and the children ignored me. The men did not ignore me. And I know now that that was because, number one, they're not used to seeing a woman in a mosque without her head covered. And number two, the whole purpose behind hijab is to prevent sexual attention from clouding the ability of one to turn one's heart to God. So I did feel kind of bad that I was distracting people from focusing on God, but as soon as the prayer started, that all changed, and I blended seamlessly back into the background again. The prayers were really beautiful, chanted in Arabic by the Imam. I didn't really understand them. Sister Allie continued to answer questions. I've always wondered why people do this, and she told me that that was because they're going Allahu Akbar. I didn't know that before Saturday, which was great. She also explained why everybody was so close together, which was something I found also very interesting. I know as a Christian, sitting in a pew, I try to keep as much space as possible between me and the people on either side of me, even though we're supposedly brethren. And in that situation, people were very, very close together. There were actually signs on the walls that said, "Fill in the gaps." So I asked Sister Allie what that was about, and she said that the Prophet Muhammad actually had made a directive that people should pray shoulder to shoulder and ankle to ankle in order to foster a sense of community, because not only are they in physical proximity, they are also in prayerful and mindful proximity to each other. They're all reciting the same verses of the Quran. So in general, I felt very welcome at the mosque, and that had a lot to do with how open and accommodating Sister Allie was. It was a really wonderful experience, and I would actually really like to go to a Friday prayer session sometime in the future.